protein, low carbs, no trans fat. Got a new mission? Alright.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. So in this episode, we're gonna talk about DJOSER, and he is the equivalent of a defensive version of Brine, because we've been using Brine as our benchmark for an attack-based Esper, because he has a really good third skill, like a very straightforward single hit damage skill using 300% attack stats and inflict freeze and defense down for 2/3. And we've been using this as a benchmark to compare every single target damage from attack-based Esper, and that is a really good reason for that, because it is really easy to quantify the damage in here, like it's straightforward 300% attack. And so for DJOSER case, he also has a very straightforward third skill, like it deals 30% attack and 190% defense and inflicts defense down 2. Like it's a pretty straightforward single target damage hit from DJOSER. So in the future, if we do want to compare a defense based Esper, we're gonna use this skill, but the thing that it is a little bit more complex compared to Brine, because this skill gives DJOSER Bull Rage stacks. And what does Bull Rage do? It increases the carrier's basic defense by 10% and resist by 5% per stack, and maximum of 5 stacks. So he actually get a bonus of 50% base defense before he actually used this skill. So his number here, his stats is actually much higher than he has right now. Like increasing this number by 50% means that you are actually sitting at around 1600 basic defense there. So he's gonna deal a lot more damage in here, but if we do want to compare just the percentage number, here we have 30% attack and 190% defense. So if we go to another defensive base Esper, DJOSER actually deal more damage than Donar, because Donar actually use more attack based stats here while using less defense stats here. But if we do build equipment for a defense based Esper, we do focus more on defense bonus rather than attack bonus. So the attack value here is kind of like a little bit bonus compared to this value here, because you use more of your defense, while also because your defensive value is far higher than your attack there. So in terms of percentage number, Donar actually deal less damage than DJOSER, but because it is very easy for you to bring Donar to Resonance 6, when he casts his third skill, he actually follow up using his passive attack here, which deal 110% of Donar's defense to all 5 enemies, which in total this gonna deal 550% damage. So yeah, even though he deal less damage to the actual target using this skill, he can deal far more damage using his AoE attack. And also Donar have a Thunder Blessing here. If he get attacked while he has the Conductor, he will get a Thunder Blessing. So it's kind of like hard to quantify these two, just like the same as Bull Rage. But unlike the Bull Rage, where you get 5 stacks at the beginning of the third skill cast, Donar actually need to get hit first in order to increase this value. But for every single stack of Thunder Blessing, he get 20% base defense, maximum 5 stacks. So he actually increased 100% base defense compared to DJOSER's 50% base defense. So both of them really kind of like hard to quantify, because the minimum damage and the maximum damage they can deal varies depending on the situation. So if Donar managed to get like 5 stacks of Thunder Blessing, he can actually deal far more damage than DJOSER, and also because Donar's base defense is actually higher than DJOSER, like sitting at 1200 defense compared to DJOSER's 1100. So yeah, only when you can maximize your donor potential, then he can actually deal far more damage than DJOSER. But DJOSER is pretty straightforward and very easy to build. So for a beginner, like when you are still in the early and mid game, it's very easy to make use of DJOSER because you know, the epic abilimon is like everywhere. Like it's very easy to get epic abilimon item. So you can just build DJOSER very easily compared to Donar. Like if you don't want to waste on the legendary abilimon, so obviously your best defensive based Esper that you want to build is gonna be DJOSER, and also because he is the best choice for you while grinding a PEP when you don't have like someone like Embla, you know, someone like Changji, etc. You gonna use DJOSER a lot because of his first skill, his passive, and his third skill there. Like all of them are really useful in APM. I'm gonna go into more detail later. But we're gonna go into his first skill now. Attacks one enemy, damage 30% attack, 65% defense, and dispels one debuff from DJOSER. We're gonna compare this number to all the other defensive based Esper. So 30 and 65, we're gonna go to Donar first. Donar deal 30% attack and 70% defense. So in terms of damage, Donar is quite similar to DJOSER, but because Donar have a higher basic defense stats here, he actually deal quite some more damage compared to DJOSER. You know, and then we gonna go to the next one is Changji, and Changji's basic attack deals 20% attack, it's 10% lower, but 80% defense. He uses more defense value on his first skill, so we can already guess that Changji gonna deal more damage than DJOSER. But because Changji have a lower basic defense value here, we need to compare whether he actually deal more damage or less damage than DJOSER. And then we're gonna go to another defensive based Esper, which is Renzi. Renzi's basic attack deals 30% attack and 80% defense, same as Changji, but he is sitting at 1100 defense, which means that he gonna deal more damage than Changji. But again, if we want to compare with DJOSER, we're gonna need to bring them both to you know, a PR battleground. But because they are sitting at like very similar defense value, like obviously Renzi gonna deal more damage than DJOSER. And then we're gonna go to the last one. This is one underrated Esper that people never take notice of, because he just recently changed from HP based Esper to a defense based Esper. So a lot of players in their mind still think that Yamato is weak, while in fact if you calculate his percentage number here, he attacks one enemy 2 times, and per hit it deals 20% of Yamato's attack, which goes up to 40%. And then if you give him a Abilimon, defense damage conversion increase to 50% per hit. So that means that he actually used 100% of his defense stats into damage here. And if we want to see his number here, like if you go to the Esper gallery, like where is Yamato there, and if you do want to see him at maximum level, he is sitting at 1100 defense values, the same as DJOSER. So while DJOSER used 65% of his defense value, Yamato used 100% of his defense value. So in terms of basic ability damage, Yamato deal the highest damage among all the defensive Esper in here. So that's why people are kind of like, you know, skipping on this Esper. You know, like he is very underrated, but obviously, right now, if you do have a Resonance 6 Yamato, you can try building him, and because of his Rashomon, he actually very easy to build. Like, he doesn't need critical rate stats at all. You can just fully invest on defense bonus and critical damage, and that's why he will deal even higher damage than this percentage number here. And also, his second skill also deal a lot of damage, because this is an AoE damage. So that's why we're gonna go into more detail later on Yamato's episode, but now we are talking about DJOSER. So again, this is pretty much like, you know, kind of low in terms of value. So DJOSER is gonna be like a basic benchmark for everyone, as instead of like a Brine, you know, like Brine is becoming a benchmark because he deals like straightforward high damage, like 300% is rare to you know, encounter, while she is also sitting at 1200 attack. But for DJOSER, because of the way he works, like a pretty straightforward skill, that's the only reason why we gonna use him as a benchmark, but this is gonna be a low benchmark in terms of number. But the best part about this skill is that it dispels one debuff from DJOSER, and again, like I mentioned, that DJOSER is really good in APEP fight. So when APEP gives a lot of poison debuff to you, DJOSER is able to remove all those poison by himself. And if you give him Avatara, like every time he gets hit, he has a chance to counter attack using Avatara, and that will trigger his basic attack here and also dispels his debuff, so that is good. Now going into his passive, you get a bull rage using your third skill, and you get 5 stacks straight away. So on his passive, while bull rage is active, attacks inflicts disease on targets for 2 turns and can't be resisted. And this is the best value from DJOSER, and why he is gonna be your very first choice, and also probably the best choice up until you receive you get your hand on Embla for your choice of Esper to grind APEP, because you do need to give disease to APEP from, like, you know, a couple of months ago's latest update, because right now APEP, every time he deals damage, he gonna heal himself, so it is gonna be almost impossible to kill him without disease. And DJOSER is the best disease applicator because his disease cannot be resisted, and there are not many Esper that have a disease that cannot be resisted. Like Zora have disease but only for 1 turn, and this can be resisted. And then also, like, you know, a lot of other Esper have disease that can be resisted. And because APEP is a boss have a very high basic resist stats. So that's why DJOSER, if you have been grinding APEP, you will notice the difference between the disease that comes from DJOSER and the disease that comes from any other Esper. Like, it is very easy for you to apply disease using DJOSER compared to the other Esper because of this cannot be resisted value, and also he can remove debuffs from himself, etc, etc. And bull rage him itself increase his defense on top of resist, so you already have like 25% bonus resist. So DJOSER himself is really hard to get poisoned by APEP, and when inflicting with a debuff other than incapacitated, which is most likely gonna be poison or any other thing, like he can also block any other debuff, but in this case I do want to mention, like in APEP, he gonna be able to resist the poison, and instead of getting that debuff, he consumes 1 bull rage stacks to ignore the debuff. So you have 5 chances of doing that. And how that works is that if you already resist the debuff, then obviously you're not using your bull rage stack. But if you if the skill managed to get past your resist check, then it has another check for the bull rage. And if you don't have a DJOSER on Resonance 6, then the chance of him to ignoring the debuff is only 50%. So once you get him to Resonance 6, then that chance becomes 100%. Like the moment a debuff goes through his resist and he has a bull rage stack, then the bull rage stack will be consumed to prevent that debuff hitting DJOSER. So really strong in terms of that. And also a long time ago, like a couple of times I met DJOSER in PvP, and he is actually really hard to get debuff. But then again, like because people build him with very very low speed, like he has like 95 speed here, like insanely low, and they focus too much on the damage, so his Joser doesn't move at all, so I don't really have problem killing him. So yeah, his only value is from his unresistible disease. So if you have ever in the future like have trouble killing Genie, like Genie is also another APEP, like you do need disease in order to kill Genie, because otherwise she gonna keep on healing her own HP. Like 80% of lost HP is no joke. This makes her almost impossible to kill without disease, the same as APEP. So you do want to keep your Joser in check and just get him ready every time you have problem with against enemies that keep on healing. And so we're gonna go and also here its attack grants 1 stack of bull rates. You're gonna get that from his ascension, I think. Yeah, it's from his ascension. The third ascension is attack grants 1 stack of bull rates. So if you give Joser an Avatara, that means that aside from removing 1 debuff from Joser every time he triggers the Avatara, he will also get another stack of bull rates. So you don't need to worry that much from getting your bull rates removed from every time he block a debuff coming to him, because he can just recover his bull rates very easily. Like Avatara will trigger that, his normal attack trigger that, even his third skill also trigger that, because this is a passive. Now going into his third skill again, we already seen this, again 5 bull rate stacks, attacks 1 enemy, blah blah blah, inflicts defense down on the enemy for 2 turns, and this is what you also need against APEP. Like you already have 1 full package of everything in Joser. Like you can also put defense down on APEP, meaning that he gonna receive more damage from your other DPS Esper. So it's a full on package of APEP counter in 1 single Esper, and that's how Joser gained his best value in that specific 1 single content. Aside from that content, most likely nobody ever gonna use Joser anywhere else, or maybe probably in here the Falsetto Fantasy against Counter Sonica. If you don't have yet like Yuzu or Donar, Changji, etc., and your only choice is Joser, that's most likely gonna be your only choice for the Counter Sonica. But Yuzu is an epic Esper, and he's really easy to get. Like the developer has been giving her a lot of times in event shop, so I don't think by now you don't have Yuzu yet. And I think you can already get her in Echo. Let me check. Like probabilities, epic, and then we gonna go to Yuzu. Where is? Wait, cannot scroll. Okay, let's see. Oh no, she hasn't come to the Echo yet. So yeah, you can get Yuzu from shop here. Like she is very easy to get. Like I think. I think the developer gonna keep on providing Yuzu in there, because Yuzu is almost a must right now. Wait, why I cannot scroll anymore? What the hell? Okay, now I can scroll. Yeah, so Yuzu is going to be far more useful than Joser, but again, because you gonna need to build your Joser anywhere to fight against APEP, so he's already there, ready to use anytime you have an emergency need of disease applicator. Now, growth advancement, obviously, if you do still use him, then you do want to increase his level to level 60. But if you only use him to apply disease and the damage comes from other Esper, then you only need him at level 50. You don't need him higher than that, because this just applying disease is his main job. His damage is just so, like he also can apply defense down, so that's his only job in APEP if you only use him for that. So yeah, it depends on you whether you want to save up on your Starimon or not. or if you have a lot of Simon and able to increase your Joser level to level 60. Now if you have bad luck and still use him in Counter Sonica, obviously getting him to level 60 is worth it. But if you already get Yuxu and any other defense based Esper, then obviously you're only gonna make use of Joser in APEP, and he can easily get replaced by Embla later on. So yeah, getting him to level 50 is enough. Now going to his resonance, we have already seen his 6th resonance, and the second resonance here, when attacked by a critical hit, damage minus 12%, increasing his survivability, and the 4th resonance, when at elemental advantage, damage plus 12%. Again, another advantage against APEP, because APEP is a wind enemy, while Joser is an Inferno Esper, so you're gonna deal more damage to APEP. Now into his Ascension here, his Ascension is quite okay. The first one gives health, second one gives defense, which is what a defensive base Esper need, and then the third one we've already seen the one that gives bull rates, and then the fourth one increases HP again, fifth one increases his critical rate, which is quite okay, and the last one gives him more defense, which is alright. If he is intended as a damage dealer, like I do prefer to see a critical damage value in here, but because he is kind of like versatile, like he is only a debuffer most of the time, so that value is quite alright. Now going into his rival rune here, as always, almost every single defense based value Esper in terms of PvP, the developer gonna recommend you going for Nether set, because they have problem with their speed. Like most of the time a defensive based Esper have a slower speed compared to any other Esper build, so they need to survive more compared to those other Esper, and the way they do that is by using a lifesteal. Like instead, because you know, like it's not really useful giving them a War Machine set, and for the Thunder set, Thunder is much better to use for PvE content. In PvP it's okay, but you don't get the bonus of the critical damage coming from the Thunder set, the extra one where you use it against monster. So Nether set is a really good choice for a defense based Esper, because you gonna use the Stone Vein, because this is where your defense value comes from, where all the attack based Esper get the attack value from War Machine. There you get your defense value from Stone Vein as a defense based Esper, so that's why this is your recommended equipment. But now for the testing purposes, I'm gonna use my Donar set here. So I'm gonna use Donar set here, and we're gonna compare with Brian using my usual Drew set here, and we're gonna go to the VR battleground. Oh yeah, we the Divinate. And for Joser's Divinate, his Divinate increase his Brutalizer's final damage when the target's HP is below 50%. Brutalizer is the first skill. So yeah, it's a nice additional damage. But of course, the one you aim for from the Divinate is the basic defense increase from here. So that's Joser. So we're gonna go to the VR battleground, and we're gonna see and compare both damage. We're gonna see a Joser's damage, and we're gonna see Bride's damage. So we're gonna hit a level 60 enemy. We don't want to, you know, hit a level 100 because the number gonna be skewed really low. So let's see. Because they have a different element, I do want to probably try attacking a wind enemy, so that you know, none of them get a missed value. So let's go hitting this guy. He is the only wind enemy in here. So let's go. Kablam! Without critical damage. So let's just try again. Didn't get a critical hit there. Okay, there we go. Hakablam! 42,000. As usual, we've seen that number a lot of the time. So now let's go with just Joser there. And this is good. Like I always use Clara for testing because Clara only gives immunity and shield, so it doesn't do anything for our damage. It doesn't give defense up. It doesn't. Oh wait, it does give defense up because my Clara already have like resonance 4, so the shield actually gives more defense. But let's just see. This is how much damage DJOSER can deal to a win enemy. 33,000 damage. So yeah, based on the benchmark here, like DJOSER deal less damage compared to Brian, but that is obvious, like because Brian used 300% of her attack stats and her attack stats is 1200 attack. So yeah, this obviously gonna deal far more damage compared to this one that using 190% defense. But again, let's just try using without Clara here. Let me see. I'm gonna try to use probably a Senat there. Or no, maybe just let's just try using TA. What is TA? Here we go. So yeah, with TA we gonna get them to to move without giving them any buff. So let's just try again. DJOSER's damage without the bonus defense coming from Clara. So let's go. Kablam! 32,000. So Clara's bonus defense only increased his damage by 1,000. So that is good to know. So it doesn't really affect his damage that much. We can go back to using Clara again. And so that is their damage. So now we're gonna go compare this damage with Donar. So 33,000 or 32,000, and now we're gonna use Donar set to Donar himself, and we're gonna see how much damage his third skill actually deal. Let's go. So oh yeah, we cannot hit the win one. Hopefully I can deal a critical damage to this guy here. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, Hakablam, 33,000. So yeah, like I said there. So even though Donar used less stats here, 140% defense, he got a bonus of damage coming from his base defense stats value and also his attack bonus here, like attack here. So eventually, like in the end, he deal the same amount of damage with DJOSER, so that's good to know. Like we can use them as benchmark now. But you've already seen just now, Donar's main damage actually come from his passive. This is the most painful skill coming from Donar there. Now we're gonna go to Changji. Oh yeah, we also haven't tried their basic attack damage. So let's see. Okay, so if you do want to try like this kind of number, like this is the way you do it. Now, let's go. Blam, 9,000 damage there. So we're gonna try it with Donar. Although I just hope that Donar deal critical damage. So because if he deal critical damage, then obviously the element difference doesn't matter. So we just gotta need to get lucky with his critical damage, so he doesn't kill any of the... he doesn't skew the damage too much. Let's go. Kablam! Wait, what? Yeah, I do need to get lucky and not kill all of them in one shot. Let's go. Let's see. Kablam. Yes! Now we're gonna use the first skill to this guy. Come on. Hopefully we do a critical damage there. Kablam. Nope. Even a miss is 3,000 there. So yeah. So we've already seen that Donar gonna deal far more damage compared to DJOSER's first skill. But because of his passive, like it's really hard to test using Donar. So in the future we're gonna use yeah, it's definitely really hard to test with him. So in the future, this is why I like to use DJOSER as my benchmark for a defense based value Esper. So let's go testing this to Changji, and we're gonna see Changji's damage. So luckily Changji is another Inferno Esper, so we can see his damage. A 10,000 damage, so obviously far higher than Joser's damage there. Like we've already seen the percentage number, so we already know, like, you know, that number. Like, wait, I already forget, like, how much damage does Joser deal just now? Let me see. That was 10,000, and now for Joser himself, yeah, 9,000. So yeah, Changji with lower base defense stats but higher percentage skill damage, he actually deal more damage than Joser, and now we gonna end it with Yamato. Although for Yamato's case, like, I'm gonna use the same equipment, you know, so as to get, you know, the exact value difference. So again, like I mentioned, that in Yamato's case, you can just build him purely like, you know, critical damage and defense bonus, because he doesn't need critical rate at all. But I do want to compare these using the same equipment. So let's go. Kablam! 11,000 damage. So yeah, we've seen how much difference the damage between Joser and Changji and Yamato, and based on the percentage value there just now on their skills, it makes sense, because this deals, you know, 100% of Yamato's defense. And if you're wondering, like, we already used a max level setting here, so yeah, that was Yamato's with full abilimon. So that's it. That's Joser, you know. So in terms of damage, oh yeah, we also have Renzi here. Let's try Renzi. Now let's see, Hakablam, 14,000, like almost 15,000 there. Now, why Renzi deal more damage than Yamato? This is because of Renzi's passive. Like, we're gonna talk into more detail about this, because for Renzi, if he has higher defense than his target, it's 1% defense gap, grants damage plus 1% up to 40%. So he actually deal 40% higher damage to his target. So if we remove that 40%, that means that from the 15,000 damage, he actually deal around 11,000 damage. So it's actually similar to Yamato's damage or Changji's damage, because he, in terms of his number, he also used 80% of his defense there. So yeah, similar to Changji, I will expect that he will deal around like 10,000 something if we remove like 40% from that 14,900. So it makes sense. Like all the number just you know, perfectly match each other. So yeah, that's it. So that was Joser, and also his captain ability increase resist. Like, it is a nice bonus, but most of the time you don't really need to use this as a captain. Like, you will only ever care about this resist value in PvP, and in PvE you don't kind of care about that. Like, because there are a lot of ways for you to remove debuffs that is applied to you. Like, you know, just use Jinyu Yao, use Clara, Cleanser, etc, etc. So yeah, that's just a nice bonus captain. So again, Joser, very basic, very standard, benchmark Esper for a defensive value Esper, but he is really good and really useful in APAP. And you definitely, like, every single one of you will definitely gonna need to build Joser at some point in time, unless you get really lucky and from the very early in the game you get a copy of Embla. And although even with Embla, like, you still need to build her at least, at the very least, like, you know, some abilimon, some equipment, etc. Because in terms of survivability, Embla is an attack-based Esper. So if you do still need struggle to fight against APAP, like if the battle drags on, then Embla gonna have problem surviving compared to DJOSER. So again, you still gonna be needing DJOSER while you are still progressing. So that's it for this episode, guys. So hope you guys get something out of this, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.